My name is Stephanie, and I'm 35 years old. I have two beautiful children who mean everything to me. Phoebe is 11, and Jeremy is 7. They are my whole world, and I love them more than life itself. But our journey together has been anything but easy. I lost my mother when I was still young, and a few years later, my father passed away too. I thought I had found stability when I married, but after 12 years together, my husband left us. Jeremy was only 2 years old at the time. One day he simply said he didn't love me anymore, walked out the door, and never returned. No phone calls, no financial support, nothing. It was as if we had never existed to him. Since that day, I've been raising my children completely alone. But I have no family to turn to, no safety net to catch us when we fall. We live in a small apartment in Vista Creek, and every month I struggle to pay the rent. I don't have a college degree or a high-paying career, but I refuse to give up. I am a fighter, and my children deserve better. I work as a home care nurse, visiting sick and elderly people in their homes. I help them with their medication, prepare their meals, and do whatever else they need. When that's not enough to make ends meet, I work as a cleaning lady. I don't work for any company. Instead, I search for homes and offices that need cleaning, carry my own supplies, and scrub floors until late at night. I clean bathrooms, take out trash, and do whatever it takes. Some clients are kind, while others are rude or don't pay what they promised. But I keep going because my children need food, clothes, and a roof over their heads. There are nights when I'm so exhausted I can barely stand, yet I still go to work. I work when I'm tired, when I'm sick, and even when I want to break down and cry. Sometimes, after they've fallen asleep, I watch my children in the quiet darkness. They look so peaceful, so innocent. I touch their small hands and kiss their foreheads, whispering that I love them. I dream of giving them everything I never had, of seeing them smile without worry. But reality is harsh, and dreams feel far away. One terrible evening changed everything. I was walking home with Phoebe and Jeremy after finishing a late nursing shift. The rain was pouring down, and the sky was pitch black. Jeremy held my hand tightly and said he was cold. I wrapped my scarf around him and pulled him close, trying to comfort him. The street was empty and quiet, but I felt uneasy. My hands were shaking. Then, without warning, there was a blinding light and a deafening crash. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was staring at a blue ceiling. I heard machines beeping round me and smelled the sharp scent of disinfectant. I was in a hospital. My body ached, and my head felt unbearably heavy. Then the memory hit me like a wave. The accident, my children, where were they? I tried to speak, but my throat was dry and my voice barely came out. A nurse appeared beside me and told me not to move. She said I'd been in a serious accident. But when I asked about Phoebe and Jeremy, she smiled gently and assured me they were safe. Moments later, the door burst open and my two children rushed to my side. They threw their arms around me, crying and kissing my face. I held them as tightly as I could and sobbed with relief. Then a doctor entered with a serious expression. He explained that I had a broken leg and would need surgery. I needed rest, he said. But all I could think about was how I would work, how I would pay rent, how I would feed my children. The panic rose in my chest like a flood. Then I remembered something even worse. The cleaning supplies I had borrowed were destroyed in the accident, and in the chaos I had accidentally damaged the storefront of an expensive shop. The owner was demanding $25,000. I had nothing. I was completely broken. I covered my face with my hands and cried until I had no tears left. My children cried with me. I felt hopeless, lost in a darkness I couldn't escape. But then something incredible happened. My story spread across the internet. People I had never met read about my struggles and saw pictures of my children. They saw our pain and they responded with kindness. Strangers began sending money to help us. A few days later, I received a phone call from a man with a deep, calm voice. He said he had heard my story and wanted to help. I didn't understand why a stranger would care, but he simply said I would find out soon. 2 days later, a group of people arrived at the hospital carrying flowers and warm clothes for my kids. Among them was a young man who sat beside my bed and smiled. He told me he didn't know me personally, but he knew my story. When I asked why he wanted to help, he said, "Because I can." I started crying again, unable to find the words to express my gratitude. He gently touched my hand and told me I didn't need to say anything. This young man and his team paid all my hospital bills. But their kindness didn't stop there. A few days later, they brought us to a large, beautiful house. They stood in front of me and said, "This is yours. You don't have to pay rent anymore. This is your home." I fell to my knees and cried harder than I ever had before. My children wrapped their arms around me, and together we wept tears of disbelief and joy. I kept asking if it was real, and they kept assuring me it was. One afternoon, the young man asked me what my biggest dream was. Through my tears, I told him I wanted to open my own salon. A few months later, that dream became reality. I was no longer just a struggling nurse or a desperate mother. I became a businesswoman with hope and purpose. I will never forget the kindness of that young man. He didn't just change my circumstances. He restored my faith in humanity. He taught me that even in the darkest moments, there are people who care, people who want to help without expecting anything in return. I started with nothing but pain and fear, but now I have everything that truly matters: a home, a livelihood, and most importantly, a happy family. No matter how hard life becomes, remember this: kindness exists, hope is real, and miracles can happen when you least expect them. Never give up and never stop believing in a better tomorrow.